Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our fourth episode of Real Talk with Lakewood Principals. I'm Amanda Cote, principal at Lakewood Middle School.
And I'm Jeanette Grisham, principal at Lakewood High School. Thanks for joining us tonight. And we also want to say thank you to our friends at Link Northwest for helping us with the technology and recording space.
Thank you, Jeanette. Tonight's focus is on the process we go through on identifying our school improvement plans here in Lakewood. School improvement plans are guides for each of our school for all the work that we want to accomplish over the course of the year. The idea for this episode really came out of the accreditation process that Principal Grisham just went through at Lakewood High School. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
You bet. Every high school in Washington State goes through an accreditation renewal every 6 years and every 3 years for a review process. The process is to demonstrate that Lakewood High School provides our students with high quality and rigorous education. Accreditation is not only an internal review of how we're doing in meeting our goals, but also an external review process where we share our work and improvement plans with both the site evaluation review team and a state level review panel. I am excited that we were able to share our great work at LHS with our site team on April 9th, and I will be presenting to the state panel on May 13th. To think about the whole district process, we've invited our superintendent, Dr. Erin Murphy, tonight to talk about the district approach to school improvement plans. Dr. Murphy, would you like to share?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you to both of you. Thank you for the work you do each day in support of our students and our families. And thanks for inviting me here tonight and talk about school improvement. I think as educators and as, I think first and foremost, we always come from that place of kind of that classroom teacher, that place of just the importance and power of strong instruction. And we're thinking about a system as a whole. Really, we start thinking about kind of those two ends of the spectrum, from that individual classroom experience to what does it look like to have that cohesive system across, right? Every single one of our buildings all working towards these common goals to support our students. It's not unusual in a lot of districts to have kind of your district improvement plan, and then underneath of that, every single different school kind of has a different area of focus. Obviously, usually it's going to be connected to reading, writing, math, critical thinking, social emotional well-being, but that there's wide kind of variation usually within a district, which is great in some respects because it allows for that individualized approach. Every building's doing a little something different. Maybe they're a different place in their learning trajectory and the needs of their students. But I think from a system perspective, it creates some complexity, because then as a system, you're going in as many different directions as you have schools, right? While you all have the same standards and kind of that general trajectory of supporting students and learning, what it's going to look like to get there and kind of what specifically you're focusing on looks different at that school improvement plan level. And so I think one of the things that I really appreciate about our district is that a couple years ago, and really my understanding is it happened as an outgrowth as we came out of the pandemic. And so prior to that, again, so common in so many districts that, every school had a little bit of a different approach to how they're doing school improvement, how they're writing their goals, what meeting their target looked like, what their different activities were. But as we emerged from, being at home, being in hybrid instruction, being back in the classroom, there was that renewed importance and that cohesiveness and making sure that we as a district were all moving forward together. And that really came down to kind of a revamping of that school improvement planning process to get down to every building in the district, all 5 would have 2 goals. One goal would be on MTSS, so multi-tier system of supports. How are we going to meet the individual needs of our students? And again, knowing that 80 to 85% of our students should get the instruction and the support they need in tier 1, in their classroom setting, their general ed classroom setting. And that for some students, they're going to need some additional support, and that's going to happen in that tier 2. And that for students who need a more significant level of support to meet those goals, that's going to be tier 3. But that each school could be having those same kind of talks and conversations, so that as we're bringing in professional development and resources and supports, we know that it's going to look a little different in every building, but we're all working on the same thing. That second area, that second goal was really about belonging. And I think, prior to the pandemic, we've been talking about trauma-informed and culturally responsive practices in education. We've been talking about ACEs. I really think that research has been steeped in our work across the state, I would say, for, even, I would say, 10, 15, 20 years prior, obviously to varying degrees in different districts prior to the pandemic. But it became so poignant and so focused as we all emerged. And I think it re-solidified the need and the urgency of the need as we saw our students return and we saw the needs of our students and our families and our staff. And so that belonging goal became critical, and it became, I think, a huge anchor point, because we know just, from as educators, students who don't feel safe and they don't feel supported can't really start the process of engaging in Tier 1 instruction, right? So that belonging became core. It became about how do we make sure everybody feels safe, they feel known, they feel valued. And so sharing that district focus and having those goals allows for kind of that cross-pollination of ideas, and to create a system where what a student experiences in elementary grows into what they're experiencing in middle school, grows to what they're experiencing in the high school. So I think that is definitely, a unique aspect, and something that we've leaned into as a district that sets us apart. And generally, I think what was really kind of cool is it came full circle in the conversation when the accreditation team was here, and they even commented how rare and unique it is to see a district have every building have the same two areas of focus for their goals, and knowing that they look a little different in every building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I would add too that we intentionally stayed away from using hard data to show gains, because when you write down, we're going to improve from this percentage to this percentage, it kind of locks you into what are we going to use? What does that look like? What if we don't meet our goal? And with a belonging goal, there is no hard quantitative data that we want to collect. It really is about each student and how they feel about their connection to school. So that intentionality of staying away from, we're improving from this mark to this mark, from this point to this point, I think is helpful in allowing our schools to really dig into the work, and then just do it by perception, surveys with students, and just talking to them every day, and what it feels like when you walk in the building.
Absolutely. And I think that's where I want to jump in and share what we've been doing, the work at the middle school. When we start looking at our school improvement goals, like Dr. Murphy said, we look at the whole goal, we look at the work we're doing, we think about where we are, we think about what professional development, what action we need to take for that year. And a lot of the work, as Principal Grisham was just saying, that we've been doing at the middle school is also on belonging. We know students who feel engaged in school have better attendance, they're more engaged with their academics, and they just need to feel connected. And we also know that for middle school students, as all students, that looks different for every student, right? Not every student is an athlete and wants to participate in track. Not every student wants to be in a club, but we want to offer a wide variety of opportunities so students can feel like they belong. So to that end, we've really worked this year on a lot of ways that students can increase their voice at the middle school and talk about ways that they could increase their belonging. We have 3 leadership classes this year. We have 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So lots of opportunities for students to really jump into servant leadership and what can they do for their school and what kind of changes can they bring about, which has been really powerful. We have a huge number of clubs this year, which are probably 80% student driven and new. We have a chess club, a crochet club, a game board club, just a variety of different opportunities for students to stay engaged in something that they're interested in. Kind of as Principal Grisham was talking, we wanted a way to measure. We talk to students every day, we see them in the hallway, but we wanted to know, do they feel connected? Do they know that there are trusted adults in the building? And so in November, we actually put a short survey in front of all of our students, and we said, how many trusted adults do you have here at the middle school? And then we listed all of our staff members, from teachers to administrators to counselors to the wonderful people who work in the kitchen to our custodians to the bus drivers. And we asked, who are you connected to? And it was so amazing to see that every single staff member in our building was connected to 5 or more students. And so it was just a really great way to see the information, and for our staff to look at it and go, we all make a difference in students' lives, and we all have a way to connect with those students and make sure that they have trusted relationships. We just had a conversation in one of our committee meetings this week about giving that again, now that we're closer to the end of the year, and make sure that we've kept up that work so we know that those middle schoolers feel connected and are building relationships with adults at school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would echo everything that Principal Cote said. We have at the high school a huge amount of clubs. If there isn't a club that a student is connected to, they can create their own club. There's paperwork. All they need is an adult to be the advisor. And so a lot of clubs, we had a record number of students come out for sports this year. We have drama productions, we have music, and choir and band, and actually tonight we have a district band
We do.
concert,
We'll
so
see you there.
I will be there. So we have a lot of ways for our students to connect to school, and a lot of it is extracurricular. So we are working on that bell to bell connection as well. And I would say that this year, probably more than any other year, our students are starting to feel like they have a voice in the building, and they are really taking ownership over belonging, the belonging work that we're doing. I want to share a little bit more about that, but I also want to talk about kind of the process about our school improvement plan and how we decide underneath each goal what we're going to be working on. And so I know your system and your process is similar to ours, Amanda, but we work with our building leadership team, which is made up of a representative from almost every department in our building. And we look at the 3 goals, and we put some strategies in place under those goals that are specific to Lakewood High School.
Specific to the middle school.
Yep. And then we come up with some action items. Each of those members of the building leadership team will go out to their department, and then they brainstorm and come up with some more action items. Who's responsible for that? What's our timeline? And then we bring it back to building leadership. We sift through, are there common themes? Are there common action items? And then we kind of put together a draft of our school improvement plan, send it out to the whole staff. Probably similar to what you do. And then we make a final draft. We send it to central office, and our executive director of teaching and learning looks over it. He makes it look nice and fancy and consistent, which is good because, again, we want that consistency. And then all of the principals get together with our school board, and we present. Instead of presenting our plan to the school board, we sit with them and have a conversation around the work that we're doing underneath each of those goals. So I think it's really important that our community knows that it's a collaborative effort. So it's consistent K-12, but then within our building, we have a lot of collaboration. One thing that I would like to do in the future is I'd really like to add parents and students to that process, and just trying to figure out what that looks like.
Absolutely. And I wanted to add one more step to that. Not only do we share it with the school board in that collaborative conversation at the beginning of the year, soon November or so, we have a meeting in a couple of weeks to really talk about what was our what are our successes for this year, and what's that work that we want to continue as we move forward. So it really kind of takes it full circle, I think, in the work that we've done.
Yeah. So if anyone out there is interested, if you're watching, our school improvement plans are posted on our website.
Absolutely.
It is something that is completely public to all of you. And if you ever have questions, or you might want to be involved in that process in the future, please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to figure out a way to engage families in that. I also want to add that even though we have a belonging goal, which I want to talk more about, and we have our multi-tiered systems of support goal, which is something that we have been working hard this year on implementing our new process. There are 4 priorities within that process, and one of those priorities is to work in grade level teams to help support students, individual students that we feel might need some more interventions. And I think that has been really powerful in our building this year, bringing teachers together across disciplines for students that we want to wrap around. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Just echo, I think we have a similar schedule, and we meet with those grade level teams once a month. In my building, for example, I sit with the 8th grade team, and we have worked with some students that we know needed a little extra help, whether it was in some way of engaging in school, it was an academic concern. And what's so powerful about those is, from a multidisciplinary point of view, the English teacher, the math teacher, the history teacher all come together and say, here's what we can do together. And it's really the wraparound approach that has been really powerful, and I really appreciate with my staff.
Yeah. But to circle back to the belonging work that we're doing, we're really trying to ensure that students feel like not only are they connected to somebody, but they feel like they can be who they are instead of changing who they are in order to belong to the community in our building. And that is really important, that we have students that just can come to school and not feel like, oh, I have to act this way because of this club, or this way because of this class. And as Amanda mentioned earlier, students that are connected to school, and Dr. Murphy mentioned it too, that feel safe and feel connected, they are going to engage more, and they are going to attend more regularly, and they are just overall going to be more successful. And our goal is to graduate students that are ready for that next step, right? And last time we met, we talked about all of those post-secondary options
for next
that
steps.
they could
Yes,
have.
we did.
But this year, one of the things that we've been working a lot on is during the school day and how kids can feel empowered to have conversations and come forward and share ideas. And so I think one of the couple things I want to highlight is we have a Cougar cabinet that has evolved this year from last year. It was great last year. It's even better this year because we learn more. And our students come together and talk about concerns, challenges that are coming up in the building, and they're actually like problem solving around those challenges and coming up with ideas. And I think the excitement comes from students seeing their ideas enacted in the buildings.
Absolutely.
So when they say, hey, I think we should do posters in the bathrooms that talk about consequences and the expectations, and they see those posters, they're like, oh, man, somebody like heard me and they listened to me, and that's my idea, and that just generates more energy around wanting to share those ideas.
It's empowerment for our student leaders.
We also have a large number of Cougar Crew members, which is kind of like Link Crew, but we have our upperclassmen, our 11th and 12th graders that get connected with 9th graders at the beginning of the year, and they keep those connections throughout the year. So those students have not only an adult in the building, but a peer, which is really helpful. We brought back Project Smile this year, kind of halfway through the year, where kids are in the hallways greeting other kids and just having, positive interactions. And then we started a belonging advisory this year. So we have our Cougar cabinet members, we have some leadership students. They tapped the shoulders of other kids that thought their voices would be powerful in this. And I have about 26 kids that I meet with a couple times a month, and they are engaged in the work around belonging, and they are coming up with advisory lessons, and they are following up with advisory lessons. They met with our accreditation team. Wonderful. And were super honest about the work that they're involved in, and you could hear them. You could hear the ownership in their voice. Like, yes, we know they're adults that need to do things, but we need to do things differently. And they feel empowered to come and share concerns with me on an individual level. I feel like they feel like they're heard. So as you guys have all, you both have said already, I think those students, when they feel heard and they know that they're seen, that their ideas are valued, they are going to continue to be more successful at school. So we're trying to build that in all of our kiddos. I would also add that our staff work tirelessly to build the relationships with students, to develop rigorous and engaging lesson plans, and many of them are coaches, club advisors, class advisors, our drama production. I mean, a lot of our adults do things outside of school that connects those students to them. We also partner with parents in order to support students and their success at the high school. So I don't know if there's more you want to add from the middle school perspective.
No, I just was thinking about all the, I think it's a great point that you just made there, Jeanette, about all the work that the staff does, because the work to have engaging clubs and come up with, be responsive to student ideas about them, and to run huge, robust athletic programs wouldn't happen without our coaches who, we're going to host our first track meet tomorrow, and we have, 120 middle school athletes of just ours coming out and inviting a lot to come out, and that takes a village.
It does.
To bring everybody out and do that work there together. So, I think you're right. The belonging is, there's a plan, and we all sit as a group collaboratively to set it in motion, but then it also is a huge collaborative effort by our buildings, the whole district, to implement it and to do this work for our students.
I don't know if you were by chance at the high school last Saturday for the Sunny and 70 track meet.
I was out of town, but I heard it was not sunny or 70.
It was not. It was not either of those, but it was amazing.
It was not sunny and 70. It was in our minds.
Yes.
But it was packed.
Yes.
Like the ground. It was crazy. So yes, there are so many. I also am looking very forward to the work continuing. We are never going to arrive where every student is going to feel 100% like they belong and are connected. But I want to see where we go and how much better we get, and how much better our school can be for each and every student in our building.
I agree with that. I think there's more and more opportunities each year that we're putting into middle school hands about, what's your voice and what do you want to see, and then how can you implement it. Funny little story. Our 8th grade leadership team came to our teacher a few months ago, and they're like, we're thinking about the end of the year. We'd like to do some kind of campus field day, and we haven't done that before. And she said, let me go talk to Mrs. Cote and let's see what we can do. And so we had some conversations and we talked about some logistics and some scheduling, and they're going to run with it, and they're planning it, and we're supporting it, but they want that to be a new tradition and an activity and something for them to do together at the end of the year. Our sixth graders have their sixth grade camp they go to, and our eighth graders go spend a day together to end, but this is really the opportunity for all of them to do kind of a celebration there together. So we're gonna do Campus Day in the last week. I'm super excited about the opportunities and that it came from the students.
Yeah. And I think that again is that empowering piece is when they have ideas and they know that an adult is listening to them, and all of a sudden they see it and it's like, oh, look how great this is at work. Dr. Murphy, is there anything that you would like to add to the belonging work that's being done in the district?
I think you guys have both given just countless, I think, just great examples of what it looks like. I think one of the things that's unique, and I just will highlight, and then I'll just echo a couple of things you both said, is why there is a school improvement goal that is connected to belonging and importance. And we're talking, it really is the verbiage of the district. Like you could talk to a student in any single one of our buildings, K-12, I think you could talk about what does it look like to belong, and what is the work we're doing in our school to make sure and every child, I think, could speak to that. I mean, it's not just about something that's on paper or aspirational or like we're going to really work. It is actually kind of what we live every day. And when you talk to our students and they're so proud of the work they're doing, and they have every right to be. I mean, it is about the power of student voice. It is about, the importance of advocacy, right? When you're advocating for changes that you feel like are going to have a meaningful difference in your life and the lives of others, and then you feel that you are empowered and supported in making those changes. I mean, that is what we want to have our students experience. And what's great is when we talk to them in Cougar Cabinet, like you said, we have 60 kids from across the district, grades 4 through 12. And they feel, empowered and successful in making the changes they want as belonging ambassadors, as students who believe in their schools, believe that what is happening is going well, but could always be better, right? We can always do more. And so
I would add on top of that, one of our students, when we did the accreditation site visit, one of the panel members asked a student, like, how do you know when you've met your goal of belonging? And she says, I don't think we're ever going to meet our goal. It's like... we're always going to be working on that. And I was like, for a student to be able to say that.
Absolutely.
And it was great.
It is great. And I think we had a visitor from, Senator Mazzal came and visited, a couple weeks ago, and we were touring the high school, and it was great because, we had two of our students. It's after school. They're giving this tour. We're going around. I had not prepped them at all other than, hey, are you available to do this tour? And they said, yes. And as we were finishing up, I said, you know what, is in our last couple of minutes, do you just want to share some of the belonging work that you're involved in and what the impact you feel? And they both lit up. They're like, absolutely. Like, let me tell you what we're about. And they were passionately speaking about it. And I think to me, that is kind of, when you talk about like, what is the right work? It's when you don't have to kind of say like, what are we going to talk about? It's authentic. This is what we do. This is what we believe, and this is the work every day, and it's the work of all of us. It's our community's work, right? And we come together, and it takes each one of us, right? It can't be the adults doing it or just the kid. It has to be that partnership with our families, with everyone. And so I think just that, this is the work that we believe in. It's the work that we commit to, and this is the work that we're going to continue doing as we move forward.
Absolutely. I just wanted to thank Dr. Murphy again for joining us here, and of course for our friends here at Link Northwest for helping us record.
Yeah, and thank you for tuning in tonight. We love having you. We will have one more episode of Real Talk in May. Look for that information in our weekly communication. There will be a link to the recording tonight if you want to tell your friends to tune in. And we will also have our survey out there if there's any other topics that you want us to talk about this year. I know for me, and I hope Mrs. Cote is going to say the same thing, but we are really looking forward to next year.
We are.
And having kind of a lineup of topics for the year so that we can engage our families even more. And if you have any more ideas, reach out and let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.